Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to the KeSPA Cup. It's me, Valdez, with, of course, Wolf here on day 3. And we're getting back into the group stage here. We're finishing off Group A today.
That's right.
And so far, it's been a lot of DAMWON dominance, as we could have expected, with a lot of teams in the middle.
Yeah, they may end up 4-0ing the group. I think it's a pretty good chance based on the remaining opponents they have left. We'll talk about the schedule a little bit later, but this seems like it's been the more competitive group. This seems like it's been the more interesting group than Group B. Group B, we watched those games yesterday. You got to commentate them yesterday.
Yeah.
Not as high quality as some of the ones we've seen over here on this side, with T1 and Gen G fielding kind of academy rosters. So it's been a little bit different than you might have thought when you saw the nameplates of the teams, but I'm excited to see how this group pans out. We might have some tiebreakers later on, so it could be a long night of League of Legends.
There is the possibility of actually having 4 extra games. That could actually happen, which would bring the total to 9. I don't think that is going to happen. It will require a 4-way tie, which, as we all know, should be unexpected. I mean, DAMWON is probably going to continue winning, but I would imagine that at least 1 or 2 of the teams from that middle-of-the-pack group will improve on the day, or perhaps go down and unimprove on the day.
Deprove.
Yeah, deprove, if you will. Here's the overview. We do have, of course, group stage for 4 days total, and then we have playoffs for 3 days, and then we get the finals on the next Saturday. We've got 10 teams here, a lot of money on the line, and it's been fun so far.
Yeah, it certainly has been. It's been exciting for me doing my first real League of Legends tournament. Here are our groups, if you forgot, or if you're tuning in for the first time. And they are. It's been interesting to see, how the new rosters evolve, new sponsors. DAMWON Gaming, not DAMWON Kia just yet, but announced, that's been kind of public now that they've got a big new sponsor. Not going to happen in this tournament, but will be in LCK. Here's the format. If you're 4th or 5th, you don't make it to that top 6, as is shown here. You fail. But if you get first place, you get that bye into the semifinals, and
yes,
that's where you want to be.
Yeah, you want to make it there, and you still have a chance as long as you make it into one of the top 3 spots in your group, which, as you can see here, we just finished off Group B yesterday. KT was actually able to go 2-0, which was pretty surprising after Liiv Esports looked like the strongest team in the group after seeing all the teams, but then they kind of threw their second game, so they ended up at 1-1. And we're going back to Group A today.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
Afrika down at the bottom, 0-2, and with 2 really tough opponents, DAMWON Gaming and Nongshim Red Force, they could 0-4 in this group, which would be a big disaster for a team that's obviously going through a small rebuild right now. And, they are coming in with the roster. We'll probably see them play in LCK. So would be a disappointing start for the Freaks, but they might be able to bring it back to that match against Nongshim. Not unwinnable by any means. Yeah,
that's going to be an interesting one. That will be our second match that we do today. But, of course, to start us off, it will be DAMWON up against Liiv Sandbox. So a pretty nice match to start off, actually. These do look like the 2 strongest teams in the group to me, based on what I was seeing yesterday. It still does feel like, though, DAMWON is kind of heads above everybody in this tournament right now, especially because they kept 4 out of 5 members from the roster. They're not going through roster rebuilding. They just won the World Championship. Khan looked very comfortable taking Nuggery's place, so I don't think they're going to lose a game this tournament, actually, the way they're playing.
It doesn't look like it at the moment, and we'll see what happens when they clash with Liiv in potential playoffs, and how Liiv performs throughout the rest of their group, because I think that's one of the big favorites on the other side of things. And people are already getting a little bit excited about KT with the 2-0 start.
Yeah, so we're going to take another look here at DAMWON, it looks like, over on this side. No videos today. We saw a lot of the videos yesterday and the day before, but you guys already got another introduction to this team. You should know them very well. It's the same team, except Khan is in the lineup, and they're as good as ever. Of course, new coaches. Very big change that did happen to DAMWON.
Yeah, with a really strong coaching lineup. Koma, obviously the most famous coach probably in League of Legends history, and Khan, 4-time LCK champion. He's been pretty consistent. And, you know, say what you will about Khan versus Nuggery in terms of recent performances. I think he has gelled with this roster pretty well so far, and I think that's going to continue. Can we call him an upgrade? Maybe not that far, but he's hungry, right? When players return to Korea, they're always really excited to perform well in LCK, and this is the lead up to that, right? So I expect big things from Khan, and I don't think he's disappointed us so far in our first two maps, or matches. Maps, I guess, whatever. They're maps. It's best of ones.
Yeah, we only play on Summoner's Rift, but we played that map multiple times.
Yes.
So you could call it maps, I suppose. And yeah, he's trying to prove himself here, coming back and trying to fill pretty massive shoes. Nuggery, I don't think he was the #1 player in the lineup, but he was a very obvious name for the side of DAMWON, and he will be missed, and he's trying to make people not miss him so much and actually enjoy his own play. But looking over on the other side, Liiv Sandbox with a similar lineup, but some new additions. Obviously, Kroko into the jungle has impressed so far.
Yeah, and Root will be starting over Leo today as well, so I believe that's his first time playing here in this group. Kroko has been kind of hyped, right? I mean, he had an incredible Nidalee game and then had a really nice individual moment near the Dragon Pit with his Olaf. He was able to shake things up, and there's a lot of hype around this guy right now. Fate has certainly been doing pretty well in the mid lane as well, so this team certainly can go places. Effort's got a long history of being a top-tier support, and, you know, Summit, if he could tighten up some aspects of the top lane, I think this team definitely has a really good chance of getting out of this group at the very least.
Yeah, I think they are heavy contenders to take second place right now. I was always a pretty big fan of Fate individually. I feel like he kind of struggled last year to carry his team too much after Summit was struggling a little bit, but if he's got good pieces alongside of him, he is going to do really well, and we saw him doing pretty well on day one of the KeSPA Cup, but now we're ready to jump straight into pick ban. It looks like Liiv Sandbox will be on the blue side today.
That's right. Well, Gragas has jumped up in priority. He's actually one of the only 100% win rate champions that's actually seen multiple games. He's 3-0 right now, and he's going to join the ranks of super high priority picks here in Akali. Still has been played and hasn't been involved in all 10 games. Pantheon has been banned. He's the only champion who's actually been banned now 11 out of 11 KeSPA Cup games, so no shocker there. And there's been kind of a trend in terms of the champions that are most picked and have high win rates. And one of the big standout first picks we've been seeing is Graves. He's 4-1 right now, and he's been played 9 out of the 10 games. I do expect that if left open here, Liiv Sandbox will absolutely pick that up. I mean, there's no reason not to, and they take it away themselves.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a pretty fantastic first pick if you are on blue side, but they say, we want to pick something else. We want to give perhaps Kroko a different pick, maybe Effort. We saw Effort doing really well on their first day. Maybe just slide a Leona in there for the first pick. We saw a lot of first pick support picks yesterday, which was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing you cannot do is give it to Canyon. So,
no.
Whatever it is, if it's ban it or take it, just do not give that to Canyon.
It looks like the idea here is because Kroko likes to play a lot of Nidalee and Olaf, which are less priority than the Graves, is to kind of see what Canyon is going to play and kind of play reactionary to that. And we see the Renekton priority coming in first here for the top lane, which is as a pretty safe pick. You do get lane bullied a lot, but it allows you to build a composition that's around multiple tanks if you want to run a tank support. And we'll see Lucian picked up here. We don't know where he's going just yet, but
yeah,
love to see some Showmaker Lucian.
Yeah, that's one of the things about Lucian is that he can be flexed pretty well. Has turned into more of a solo laner than an AD carry, but we've seen Deft and some other AD carries pick him up from time to time. The Taliyah is pretty interesting because Canyon is going to be hopping onto that. We've seen his Nidalee from time to time, obviously.
Yeah.
His Elise, also one other that Lilia.
Lilia, yeah.
The one other AP jungle that gets played a lot. But this time he will be going onto the Taliyah that has seen a lot more priority as of late.
And Syndra is the mid laner that's had the most success. Talk about those champions that are up at the top of the win rates right now. Almost undefeated at 4-1. And getting an AP mid laner made me feel like we might see Croco pull over to the Olaf since that's still open, but they're actually going to go with the Nidalee just the same here. So I think this means they kind of have to get a big tanky support in the bot lane so that this poke can actually work out. So I'm kind of feeling like maybe DAMWON grabs a Leona here, bans away the Alistar, and kind of limits what they can do with that front line, because I've already picked up Renekton. You get a second top tank in the bot lane, and things could be really good for Liiv Sandbox here.
Yeah, I do kind of agree with you. Maybe try to cancel out some of those support picks that are quite good for the side of efforts. They are going to pick up the MF. It seems like they really wanted to get Ghost onto that pick, so they're going to prioritize that rather than essentially, pick/banning away a third support from the side of Liiv Sandbox. They can also do that on their fourth pick, so they're going to go ahead and ban some AD carries, though, trying to target Root here.
I like the Jhin ban because you're putting yourself in a position where, again, you're kind of limiting that poke damage with his ultimate. There's a lot you can do if you do go double tank. But I think the Alistar ban is a really safe choice as well to take with that Jhin. Leona ban coming out here, kind of pointing into the same direction as what we were thinking about earlier with DAMWON's support line here. Not as tanky, obviously, but they don't need to have that tanky of a support when they're running double AD champions in the Lucian and MF. We'll see if they end up do banning that Alistar here. Yeah.
DAMWON is a team that, they can kind of just go like 5 damage carries and just carry anyway. They don't always need to get Beryl into something super tanky. He might even just, go onto something that can gank really well. But we'll have to wait and see. His Alistar is still open. That's the one thing I'm curious about. Will Liiv Sandbox just take that away as well? Because they've already banned the Leona.
Yeah.
And Beryl's very well known for Pantheon, Alistar, right? So
that's kind of what I'm feeling. They banned the Maokai, so this puts them in a really nice position. I think unless DAMWON grabs Alistar right here. The Thresh ban, I think, is kind of a targeted ban towards effort. Obviously, can work really well with a lot of the marksmen that are left up as well. So curious to see if they end up taking this away. I feel like I'm kind of hung up on the Alistar in this draft a little bit. Like I've kind of zoomed in on it pretty hard, but I think it's a really nice pick for what Liiv Sandbox is bringing to the table. And this kind of confirms that it is going to be mid lane Lucian with the Ornn pickup. But is it the Alistar here? Or is everything I've said up to this point is halfway through the draft, all fall apart?
It is one of the big high-tier supports that is left available, and I think if you're not picking that, you might want to look at something like a Shen. Again, mage supports are kind of dead right now. We don't see it too often. Braum is another consideration, but he will, in fact, go for the Alistar and the KeSPA, which we have been seeing a lot lately.
Yeah. I think KeSPA is super good with Thresh, too. That was one of the things that I was kind of thinking when we saw that Thresh ban come through. And we might just see Galio sneaking in here as a support, actually. We've seen that, I believe, just once this tournament. And it was earlier on day 1. So that's going to be the final lock-in here for DAMWON Gaming. Liiv Sandbox have a comp that they're familiar with. They like running this sort of poke style with having 2 tanks. The strong front line with Renekton and Alistar coming through with Mage, mid laner, and the poke that you have with Nidalee as well. So a lot of AP damage coming in. It feels comfortable for them. It's what they like to play. But we also have incredibly high-tier champions on the other side for DAMWON. They're the favorites coming to this. They have a lot of late game with both the Lucian and the MF, but not only that, Ornn's late game itemization as well. So I feel like there's going to have to be a lot of pressure in the mid-game here for Liiv Sandbox around the Dragon Pit, trying to make big plays, or they will fall off in the late game if we get to it.
Yeah, the late game will be rough for them because eventually Syndra's not going to do anything to guys like Ornn, especially in that front line, whereas DAMWON themselves have a lot of kiting tools to handle, especially the Renekton and the Alistar. If you can kind of get rid of them, it will be pretty nice. Also, that early game with the Renekton Nidalee, I think that Croco's going to have to make some early game power come through once again. And it's going to be difficult because, yes, he looked good on day 1, but now he's up against what we were calling yesterday. He could be the best player in the world right now. I mean, it's, he is getting there.
He's up there.
He was the world MVP in the World Championship. On the stage, he received the award. And obviously, it's the KeSPA Cup is still very early, but every time we see this guy, he just looks better and better. And it's going to be Croco's biggest test of the tournament. So I'm really curious about that jungle matchup. Looks like game 1 is ready. Let's hop into that now. All right, here we go. On to the Rift here for game number 1. You wanted to see Showmaker's Lucian. Here it is.
Yeah.
Up against Fate's Syndra. Fate is an incredible Syndra player, so he got super comfort.
Fate, he also had a game-winning moment for Liiv Sandbox in the Baron pit with that 4-man stun that we had with him, and it's plays like that that can really turn the tide of a late-game situation with Syndra, right? You know, you talked about how she doesn't do that much in the late game, but if she can get a 4-man stun,
to tanks especially,
it's like, okay, well, maybe we were wrong about what she does. Maybe the damage isn't there, but the CC can certainly help empower.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen incredible Syndra plays. You know, everybody remembers like Bjergsen getting the, I don't even know what to call it, but you get like the 7-10 split. And it's like you just get the 2 balls going in the separate directions, and you get the double stun. Sometimes you just throw your ultimate out and you stun an entire field of enemy champions. And there's a lot that goes into Syndra play that is a bit more than, you know, just pressing your R button and winning. And it's pretty obvious when you see the difference between mediocre Syndra players and great Syndra players.
Yeah.
Fate is not often talked about, but this is one champion that I think that he can begin to start being talked about.
Oh, sure. I mean, Alice, you know, said it best, I think, on day 1, saying that it's kind of like he quietly carried the game. Like, we didn't really talk about it too much. There were pings coming through that, you know, the bot lane was shown for DAMWON, so I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that Kroko knows that Canyon started red buff, and so very, pretty, you know, calm jungle here. There's no Olafs, there's no Graves in this game, so very quiet start to the map at level 1, which we haven't seen too much of, actually, in this tournament. It's been pretty aggro, generally speaking, but, you know, with this jungle matchup, it does tend to be a little bit more passive.
Yeah, I do think that Italy can get some pretty nice ganks off onto the top lane. That's going to be something that Canyon is going to have to worry about eventually. Khan can't over-push or anything like that, and they certainly could try to go for some dives early on, but if Ornn gets enough items, then eventually he'll just become too strong, and then your gank becomes a double kill against you, so you got to be careful about that as well. And so far, this bottom lane has been looking really solid for Ghost and Beryl. Yeah,
he's just chipping away. He's already hit 5 times champions there. He's at 30 stacks in the tier early. And he got one actually even at level 1, so he's just building that up quickly. Chip damage is real, and this is just going to force really passive play out of Root, which, you know, there's not a lot you can do here. Italy's your jungler, so there's not a big play to be made here early on in the game about, you know, just kind of hiding under turret. So you just kind of have to sit back and not enjoy it.
Yeah. It's just the way this this matchup can go from sometimes, and especially when you're going up against Ghost and Beryl. So it'll be rough. It'll be rough for them. They're going to get pushed under this turret pretty often. That's going to be a thorn in Kroko's side as well. Like, do I try to take away some of the pressure down here? Do I relieve it at all, or do I just let them fall further and further behind? We saw that yesterday, Humble Life, regardless of what team they played against, they just got ahead in bot and mid every single time because they have Chovy and Deft. And we see that a lot of the times here with DAMWON against some weaker teams. But
yeah,
we'll see how this goes for Liiv Sandbox.
Well, it's another thing I wanted to talk about really quick, too, that kind of, like, escaped me in the draft, is we've actually seen this Galio support kind of used as, I think it might have been in mid lane, actually, at that time, but Galio used as kind of a counter to the Renekton and Alistar double tank with the taunt. You know, you have that front line that's trying to be aggressive, trying to collapse in, and the taunt is really strong against that, even in lane here against Alistar as well. So I actually think this final pick for DAMWON Gaming is actually really working out for their comp. And all they have to do is get to the late game. They usually don't in this tournament because they can just win the game really fast, but I feel like it's kind of win-win. You know, they're really amazing at early game. They're crushing this lane, but all they have to do is survive to the later parts, and they've got the best tools to win that late game if we get to it. And I think the Galio is definitely a big part of that for late game team fights.
Yeah, you know, they saved that support counter pick specifically. Here we got a gank trying to get on top of Fate. That seismic shove will go wide. Pretty difficult to gank a Lucian lane when Lucian is on your team because he has no gank assist. He has no stuns. It's just, you got to do it yourself. And Talia loves gank assists. She loves when her lanes have stuns because then she can line up her seismic shove as the second ability to come in and basically make it targeted, but not going to be the case when you've got a Lucian in the mid lane.
Yeah, he's just he's going to help tickle at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of, I guess, trend with AD mid laners is you usually don't have big stuns, unless you're talking about the sorties.
The sorties.
Well, this is, you know, sometimes you got to try to get vision of the river, but it doesn't always work out.
Yeah. You know what he did there was he got a Dark Harvest stack, so it kind of looked like, oh, you know, he's just poking him down, but it does a couple of things. He gets the stack. He also is able to pressure the bot lane so that Alistar is not available for the dragon, and it's just going to be free. Italy was up in the top river, so that'll just be a free starting Drake here this side of DAMWON.
Yeah, that's just really unfortunate for effort there. And I mean, that just happens. You lose your whole health bar like that. You don't die, but there's no coming back from that one. You're already losing lane. So that's, yeah.
Yeah. It seemed like Khan was really worried about a dive up in the top side. I mean, he used his ultimate to clear the wave really quickly. He was under turret after the trade, and it really looked like a dive was coming because it was an aggressive trade from Summit to get the health bars low, and then if Nidalee comes in right as the wave, it was a big wave. If it's crashing into the turret, that would have been the perfect time.
And
so.
it's also a good time to look for something like that because you've already given up the Drake. So
Exactly.
that's when your Krako's probably up there, right?
Yeah.
So
He wasn't out of the Drake, so
Yep.
you know, either he's back in base or he's on the top side of the map. So.
yeah.
It's a good read.
Yeah, it looks silly like if you just isolate look at that moment, but yeah, given the information he had, it was pretty safe to do that. And there's not going to be a big fight coming up before that comes off cooldown anyways, probably, so he'll have his horn ready.
Yeah. If this was Khan of, I guess, 2018, might have been a different story. And if Nidalee was up in the top lane, he probably would have just died. As, he probably would have been pushing under Renekton's turret. He was a bit of a different player. Seems like he's improved that area of his game.
I think part of that probably comes from the coaching, right? And Koma, you know, being a pretty aggressive coach, historically speaking, and changing players' habits. And I mean, he hasn't been with the team very long, neither Koma nor Khan, obviously, but
Yeah.
still, I mean, maybe we're seeing the first coaching changes coming through.
It's very true. Nuggery had a kind of similar style where he just kind of boneheadedly pushed at times and went, you know, 0-2, 0-4, and we always kind of joked that it was the 0-2 power spike, because he would go 0-2 and then he would just go 6-2 on something like a Kennen with some insane flanks and stuff like that, because he's an incredible player, but just sometimes he would make some aggressive mistakes in the laning phase that got him behind.
Yeah, and besides taking the Drake here off of a really nice trade from Candy in the bot, where it wasn't even really a trade, it was abusive. Effort didn't get anything out of that. But besides that move, taking the Drake aggressively like that, and the kind of aggressive pushing we're seeing in the lane, in the bot lane, it's been DAMWON just playing passively through this early game. Like you said, it's hard to gank for a Lucian, so not a lot of options there, but they know their comp is strongest in the late game, so there's no reason to force anything to happen before then unless Sandbox makes a mistake. Liiv Sandbox, that is.
We'll see what Liiv Sandbox want to do here. They're thinking about grouping up, and you see the Crab Rave, it's like, okay, well, you're late, like, oops. And now they're trying to turn this one around, trying to lay down that wall. Tons of damage coming in. Barrel over the wall, gets that taunt, but Effort a very nice reaction. Unfortunately, Summit is all alone for some reason, trying to go 1v5. He was by himself on the top side of the wall. He easily could have just walked north and disengaged, but
they wanted to fight, and I think this is that kind of, we're getting close to the mid game where the composition of Liiv Sandbox needs to try to take some fights, but with the huge Ornhorn that you just can't take that fight. Everyone else is cut off, and that entrance to the Baron River, the top river there, lines up perfectly for a move like that. And Khan just said, all right, if you're in this choke, guess what? I don't even think we were going to see a replay of it because it was just that straightforward and cut and dry.
Well, they're going to take away a bunch of the plates here. They actually are able to split that gold onto Showmaker as well, which is fantastic. Don't want to get all of that onto the jungler. If Lucian gets too far away, that'll happen. And so they're able to do a ton of damage to this mid turret at the same time. I mean, where is anybody? Where are they? Where's the laner? Okay, Showmaker's like, I guess I'll just take the turret then.
He can leave it up. He can take it later. It's free to anyone who wants the gold now, basically. So sometimes you'll see people leave it up for that reason. Also didn't have a great wave to finish it off with, but we are going to see this replay. Watch Khan here. Summit's trying to cut him off from the fight, and as they retreat here, where the Weaver ball comes up, like it's just 3-man, big knockups. And then, you know, Summit is trying to, it looks like he's trying to get back in and do something, but he probably should have just left.
Yeah, when the Ornhorn was going out, like he got knocked up by the Ornhorn on the top side of the wall. But the second that happens, you see all your teammates getting lined up like that with the perfect angle from Khan, you just got to get out of there. You're never going to win that fight. You're never going to kill Ornn, especially. So he just got baited into a weird skirmish between him and Ornn, 1v1 for like 1.5 seconds. That's all he needed, as we got a little fight down here on the bottom side. Barrel looked like he was in trouble, but they are turning this around, or at least they're trying to, as the heroic exit is attempted here. KeSPA gonna go straight in. They will be able to hand that kill over to Fate with a nicely timed roam. Gets down here and is able to pick up that gold for himself, and now the team, Liiv Sandbox, will say, well, this should be our Drake. We'll see how this one goes. And
this is the kind of play that, you know, we saw attempted, the kind of aggressive play we saw attempted, obviously, at the Rift Herald and now around the Drake. And there's just no way to steal this away, unfortunately. Almost.
It wasn't supposed to be close.
This could be bad.
Oh, nice little roam down here from Summit. It's going to net them another kill. Showmaker was absolutely not expecting that. And he just got punished big time. Going to take his first death, and that's a nice little turnaround here from Liiv Sandbox.
Yeah, this is really nice.
They're actually skirmishing here in the mid game with DAMWON.
Yeah, this is the kind of fights they need to, this kind of skirmishes they need to take, and if we watch that fight again too, we might get a replay of it, I'm not sure, but we usually get a replay of every fight, but sometimes it takes a while.
Yeah.
I'm still getting used to that in League of Legends. Like in, you know, the other games like KeSPA, we very rarely get replays, and you never know, but
there's some downtime in
here
this
we
game.
go.
We got some time.
Watch Barrel here. He actually he has no real vision control over the river, and I think you sometimes feel a little bit too confident with your taunt, and they're trying to isolate effort into the bullet time here, and then obviously he has to use the heroic exit, as you jokingly called it, to try to get out, but he dies. I think it's a little bit overconfidence here without vision control of that fight, and also kind of like you get a little bit overconfident when you have that taunt. You think, this will be fine. I've also got an escape, but
yeah. I mean, he had Aftershock running, but he just had nowhere to run to. And the Renekton came out of where the Raptors were in the enemy jungle. So Khan was like, oh, well, Renekton's not top, but I don't think they expected that angle.
He didn't he didn't teleport or anything either, so just no vision of where he was, and he actually keeps teleport too. It worked out really nicely because in that rotation he was trying to go down the dragon fight, and then he was like, okay, I'm too late for that. Maybe grab some Raptors, and then okay, we have an opportunity in the mid lane. So nice here for Liiv Sandbox. It was looking kind of dire, like they didn't have any foothold in this game for a little while, and bringing it back.
Yeah, I think any team against DAMWON, this kind of happens when there's a super dominant team in your region where you just kind of, every team that goes up against them, they just give them too much respect, you know? It's the same thing in sports where it's like, oh, this team is too good, like everybody loses to them, how are we gonna do this? But that's like the absolute wrong mindset to have. You just have to go in there like it's any other game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like Liiv Sandbox, they've always had kind of that like skirmishy, feisty attitude as a team, and they're showing that here as well. They're not just gonna lay down and take it, essentially, take the beating from DAMWON. They are going to fight you. Yeah,
except Root, because kind of that's been his laning phase.
Yeah.
But besides that,
yeah,
he's actually down almost 30 CS, but he hasn't died. He's just playing for what he can get done. That's not what you want, obviously, but it's a tough matchup. The late game is DAMWON, so they have to skirmish, you know, and have to be brave.
Yeah.
Well, the Drake's not up for 2 minutes, so just a little bit of a kind of vision roam around here in the Dragon River here as Canyon is actually in a really nice spot and caught Effort off.
That's what he does. And you see Effort actually has to flash away from that one because Showmaker, immediate follow-up, able to dash on in and force that one. It's just a little play. That's what Talia does, and she's going to do it again.
And she still has Weaver's Wall, so got to be really careful. Nice stun, though.
She's dead. Just like that. See you later. They're going to try to trade it onto Fate, and they will be able to pretty easily. Teleport will be used by the Renekton. They're trying to turn this one onto Beryl. He does not have his flash anymore, but in comes Khan, gets the big knockup with that ultimate to knock the three of them in the front, but immediately DAMWON realized, hey, we gotta be careful about this one. Going in is the KeSPA, gonna get that first kill onto Beryl, and now he's looking for Showmaker, really low in the back line there, but the slow comes out from MF to not allow them to chase.
That was really nicely played from Liiv Sandbox. Things could have gone really badly there, but they actually turn around, get the first pick. And it's a scary moment too because the mid turret's down, so everyone else on DAMWON kind of has control of the entry points into the blue side jungle. It's really easy for them to come and help. Someone has to teleport in, and you can see this is from obviously DAMWON's perspective. This is all they can see, right? Fate is here, he doesn't know. He gets stunned into the wall, and the grand entrance here not really going to do a whole lot for you. They taunt to trade it. And you can see where Khan is. Like, there's no mid-turret, so this is what I'm talking about. You can just be aggressive, but Beryl's kind of isolated. He already used his grand entrance. And we're going to another fight.
Oh, man, they're just going into it. Summon's super low. He's going to go down right from the get-go, and Fate not really able to enter this fight here. He's looking for it. Ghost takes a massive spear to the face. And a W from the KeSPA. That's going to it's going to hurt. And this is a big one. We got Mountain Drake coming up, and that's big for both teams. Canyon taking way too much poke damage. Showmaker trying to trade it here, but that is a big mistake. Nearly goes down. Rocco's going to be able to heal up from this one. Nearly gets taken out. They're pretty lucky, actually, in the end that he did not go down.
Speaking of nearly taken out, Showmaker up here as well.
Yeah.
Scary moment for him. Liiv Sandbox trying to be aggressive, trying to make plays. You know, right now, where time is running out, the Dragon fight here is, I think they have to try to force this, especially with Ghost being so low. And they are going to take this away, force them off the Drake. But this is, I feel like, one of the last opportunities for Liiv Sandbox. They have to make a play here. They have to try to force this.
See the Ornn going back. Khan does have teleport, but DAMWON as a team have just given up on this objective. They just say, nope, you guys can have it. We're not going to go for it.
Yeah, I like that because for DAMWON, the one way this game goes wrong is if it continues to snowball away from you. I mean, there's not even, I say continues to, but they're ahead. But if they end up taking some of these fights before their power spikes really explode, then that's how Liiv wins this. So this is the fight Liiv wants to take. This was a replay of that fight we almost missed there because we were watching a long replay before. The Ghost takes a huge chunk of his points away there.
Yeah.
But this is the fight that, like the Drake fight that Liiv's like, I dare you to take this one with everyone's at low health bars right after this fight. We're watching again as Showmaker's at like 0 health.
That was insanely aggressive from him. So much damage. With Cinder in Italy, you got to be so careful over the wall there. He does have Merc Treads, but that's still a big risk. And Fate is just, he is so massive right now. He's got Seekers probably fully stacked and the Leander's finished with the Sork Boot. So, I mean, he's one-tapping people almost.
He's halfway to his Hourglass too, which is going to allow him to play a lot more aggressively around these objectives. So, he's in a pretty nice spot, let's just say, to put it lightly. And Gale Force is up, obviously, for Showmaker, which, as you kind of said yesterday, is it's only for the double speed, the double jumps.
Yeah.
And that makes Showmaker incredibly deadly. It's also going to really empower his culling.
Yeah, you get to reposition it another time, essentially. I actually don't know how that would work. Would it cancel your culling?
I don't think so. I think
Gale Force?
I think it keeps going. I'm not 100% sure.
You could Gale Force first and then culling.
Yeah.
And then use your dash second. But I actually don't know. I haven't played Lucian on the new
I've played against him,
patch.
and I feel like he can do it, but I could be wrong on this. We'll have to wait and see. It's one of those interactions we just don't know yet. Preseason.
Yeah.
You know.
Still figuring out the way the items and their interactions work, of course.
Well, we do see a Kraken Slayer actually coming in for Root. It's kind of been one of the less popular bot lane items to finish. We've seen more shield bow, like you said. Perfect way to describe it. Too big to fail yesterday. I was like the best way. I was like trying to think of the best way to say it, and then you said it so well yesterday.
It felt that way, but you know we haven't had too many shield bows after that. I mean, we had some yesterday, but I don't know. It just feels like some of the items are being prioritized a little bit more over that. More than the safety, I suppose the utility of some other items can come in handy at times. Canyon is so far ahead, by the way, in terms of CS and gold. He has already completed his second items. We only have the stopwatch here for Krako.
This is what is the scary part, right? Is DAMWON's starting to really, I mean, besides Fate right now, DAMWON's kind of edging things out in every regard, and we're getting towards a late game, right? And they still have all their turrets up, and they're only down one Drake, which is a nice Drake for Liiv Sandbox to have, the one they gave up because they didn't want to take a risky fight. But it's looking like the game is slipping away for Liiv Sandbox if they can't make a play here around this second Mountain Drake.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if DAMWON just walks away, too, it's not like it's Soul yet, so it's a kind of awkward spot in the mid-game now for Liiv Sandbox. We're kind of getting out of the mid-game and going towards that later parts of the game.
Yeah, I mean, this was, it's a very 2020 scenario where you would have the Renekton top and an aggressive jungle that can work very well with that. And you would try to get ahead in the early game with, you know, stuff like a Syndra that can do a lot of damage early on in the game, that has that one item power spike, but then falls off late. I'll hold that thought as Summit has to flash away here. They're thinking about knocking it away. I think
nice
they should.
dodge from Krako there.
Yeah, he was actually the deterrent from Summit getting chased down any further, but this was very common, you know, and we would always say, like, okay, the team that's got this Syndra Renekton composition, they have to get ahead early on. The onus is on them. The responsibility is for them to stop the scaling team from getting ahead, but if it's kind of going even, but the scaling team is slightly ahead, then you're going to have a real rough time.
I mean, that's just the name of the game, right? So that's why a lot of people, a lot of commentators especially, not a big fan of picking Renekton first. But
not naming any names.
Not going to name any names or anything like that, but I think Renekton is safe in these comps, the two-tank comps, with Gore Drinker really making him a little bit, you know, beefier, a little bit more survival, a little bit more damage. But if we get to that point of the game where there's just too many answers and there's just too much damage output, there's too much range damage, I mean, realistically, with the LoLSAN and the MF here, that's when it gets really scary. Gore Drinker not going to help you if you can't get on top of anybody to get that heal, get that extra damage in.
Mm-hmm. It's very true. They have a lot of ways to peel for their damage. As you were mentioning, come on from the Galio. It felt like the perfect counter pick to what Liiv Sandbox had as a team. Even
Weaver's Wall is kind of helpful, you know? Yeah. Like it's almost like the more you think about it, we're at the stage of the game, like how does DAMWON lose? Like that's the biggest question.
Yeah, that is always the question.
Okay, they're trying to hard engage here, but look at the heal already here.
Yeah, okay, nice stun onto the Ornn, but it doesn't last very long. Effort is getting burst through his ultimate as, okay, the Galio not going to live for too long though. 4-on-4 for now, and Summit through the dominance. The smite is going to come in from Canyon, and they say, well, okay, we're done.
I thought you we let you have the last Drake, but I thought this time we'd fight for it.
Oh,
this could be disastrous.
Seems like Krako knows.
This is like the disaster spot for Canyon. It's overextends here. Okay, gets away. That moment I feel like was maybe Liiv Sandbox's last chance in this game. Not to call it over, but kind of, you know, like that was their last chance. That was a fight they needed to take. But you could just see how the comp works so perfectly against it. Even MF's bullet time is a perfect double tank counter when they have to slowly engage like that. You're just like, okay, we'll eat all the damage.
I almost feel like the only way to make this comp better is to have like a Cassiopeia mid, but like we don't see her anymore. She kind of doesn't exist right now, even though I feel like she is probably okay with, you know, some of the Andries and the demonic embrace items, such and such.
Look at Barrel's positioning here.
Yeah.
They see him, but they're like, well, we have to engage. Flashes over the wall, and then the big Ornhorn. There's so many ways to stop everything that the composition of Liiv Sandbox does. There's just so many ways to say, no, you can't actually continue to fight this.
Yeah. And they just kind of deny them any entrance, and then they back away because they know, you know, the thing about DAMWON that everybody always praised was like all their players are just so mechanically skilled and talented, and they play great as a team, but they also just had great coaching and great sense as a team of what to pick and ban. And their drafts were always like, you know, maybe if we could win the draft, we could maybe steal a game from DAMWON, even though they've got better players. Well, you never won the draft because they were always winning every single draft that they had. And that's what kind of made them unstoppable.
Well, it's crazy to think, like, because in the draft, I was thinking about some of the priority picks, right? Like the Leona, like, where's that? Like, why when it left open, why isn't DAMWON take it? It's because DAMWON isn't drafting for what's top tier. They're drafting for the comp they think Liiv Sandbox is going to run, that Liiv Sandbox has already run once in this tournament.
Yeah.
And that's why they saved the Galio pick for last, because it's so perfect here. Not only that, but the mid Lucian really works well against this too.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's like they knew all along before the draft even started the way that Liiv Sandbox was going to try to play this on blue side again.
Yeah, they saw the Renekton and they're like, okay, we already know what's going to happen, and they picked Talia Lucian. It's just it's like the perfect 1-2, the R1 R2 in response. And yeah, it's been good. I mean, they haven't been crushing Liiv Sandbox, and I think that's really a testament to some strong play from Liiv Sandbox. I think that they have really come up to the plate. It is, as we mentioned, it really is a little bit of a draft problem that we have run into in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the draft for Liiv Sandbox is also still good. It just falls off really hard late, especially against the comp, you know, that DAMWON is running. And we've passed that point. And even though they're up in kills, they're down in gold. And I don't know if they'll be able to win any further team fights here.
Yeah, I mean, they have a KeSPA, right? And everybody could say, okay, well, she gets like 3-4 items. Maybe she could just press R and jump into your backline and kill everybody. But like, yes, I mean, in an ideal world, it is possible, and she can scale really well and have some crazy team fights. Don't get me wrong, but she did fall behind in the laning phase. She's kind of caught up pretty nicely, actually, which is good to see from the side of Root. But at the same time, you know, she jumps into that back line. You don't see very many, you know, Zonya or like hybrid builds from the KeSPAs nowadays. She might just get blown to smithereens.
That's
like, there's just so much damage and peel.
We've
that,
seen
like,
it.
You go in there and you just get taunted in the face, and it's like, okay, well, you know, it's just not super realistic.
Yeah,
she has to find the perfect time.
And that's, I think, why she's building Kraken in this case, and the Runin's Hurricane as well. Like, just trying to rely on more range damage instead of that kind of engage, because there is so much counter to that, and so much CC on the side of DAMWON Gaming to kind of slow down those tanks. And if you try to go in there with them, you might get Ornhorned, you might get slowed, you might get taunted. I mean, there's so many ways that DAMWON stop you. Ouch.
Welcome to Canyon's world. Could have been a lot worse too, but still a very Talia moment there.
I mean, right now I feel like this next Mountain Drake fight that DAMWON already has almost complete vision control over. Summit's on the bottom side here. I said last time it was the last chance for Liiv Sandbox, so I guess this is like the really, really last chance, right? To win a fight that can give them some turrets and start to catch them up in this game to where then they can use their poke to push lanes. This is it right here. Yeah,
there's the last chance Christmas sale, and then you got the last chance New Year's Eve sale.
Yeah.
We're kind of there. And there's that Weaver's Wall we talked about. That Alistair is dead meat. There's just no way he can get out, and it's a perfect cutoff from Canyon. He trusts in his teammates to do that upfront damage if he can find the good angle.
This hasn't been a bad game from Liiv Sandbox either. There haven't been any major misplays. Oh, no. Fate's still going to die, sadly.
That Gale Force comes in. You see that Summit's trying to play the hero, but Krako and Root are like that couple that just ran away from the fire. They're like, we're not getting in there. Sorry. My life is more important. And they're probably right in this case because Fate, there was no way he was going to be saved. And unfortunately, Summit, he thought he had a chance, but he did not. Now we've got double Mountain Drake with an Ornn, and even a Galio that's going to have some tanky items eventually. And they just got better, and they scale better. So
yeah,
that's kind of what we were talking about.
Yeah, there's not much else to say, really, at this point. But, I mean, watch this. Again, it's just there's so much counter-engage. Okay, you're going to do that. I've got culling. Also, bullet time is a thing, so don't even think about coming back in here, Summit.
Yeah. Look at Khan's maneuvering there. That was so cute.
Yeah, and now he's got, you know, just barely misses the Ornn Horn. But look at where he is. He's just putting brittles on Summit. Summit's not going to last. He's got the, you know, Aegis stacked up. There's, I mean, how many more reasons can we give for why DAMWON is going to win this game in probably the next 5 minutes? Like,
Khan is just, he's so smart. He's such a smart player now.
He's been so careful. It's almost like
he's developed so nicely.
It's almost like Koma's been like, all right, let's talk about this one weakness.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Did I cast a curse? No!
He actually still might be fine here, though.
Yeah,
Everyone's rotating.
This fine. He's turning around.
It was
He's
a
like,
bait.
yeah, I dare you.
It was a bait all along, Valdez.
He's so tanky, they can't do anything to him. It's so sad. Okay, now they've got a Renekton in there. Okay, Khan is now officially hit half health. They're trying to get into that backline, though. Trying to get on top of Cannon. That's a nice bullet time over the wall from Ghost. This is a very split fight, but it will go the way of DAMWON eventually, even though Renekton with Core Drinker is just insane. It does not matter. He will die eventually.
Still in his death timer.
Yeah.
At this point.
Not sure about that one, Croco. You might just get two-tapped by MF at this point.
Yeah, he's desperate. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Well, that was a crazy moment, too, when actually we saw Effort walk up to Khan 5 levels down. Like he was like, oh, yeah, I got you. I caught you.
Yeah.
It's a very Rorschach moment there. Like
Exactly.
who's caught actually in this case? Who's locked in with who?
that can happen oftentimes if you have a Ornn, even without Mountain Drakes. But he's got 2. It's 32 minutes into the game. So.
I mean, Leandri's is upgraded. Eclipse is upgraded. Don't ask me what those are called right now, but
oh, we got Typhoon for Gale Force. Eclipse, I don't know that one. I think Leandri's Lament?
Lament, I think you were saying earlier, yeah, I think that's the one.
I believe so.
Well, I mean, this is just like, the late game gets just even worse, right? for Liiv Sandbox here.
This is so funny.
It's kind of just like, wait a minute, I'm not actually
Remember Root? How we're like, oh, if he gets to the back line, like,
yeah.
He even has Crackers like.
And Weaver's Wall is like basically a teleport. He's a global. Cannon's like, yeah, I'm in here too. He's got Zonia's. Bullet time over the wall from Ghost.
Yeah.
And look at the damage on the Croco. Ghost is like, yeah, please don't try it.
And he's got Eclipse too, so I mean, it's
upgraded Eclipse.
Probably on cooldown, but like either way, it's like MF is just gonna 2-tap you, and especially once she gets her items, that is going to happen. Okay, the name of upgraded Eclipse is. Wait. Wait, what is this?
Is it one of those? Is it a bug? Is it one of the bug names? Because that was a thing for a while. Wait, what?
Wait. No, I've seen this before, and I was like, okay. When it comes up, yeah.
We're gonna have to look that up in the dictionary because it's either a really cool, like probably like Latin term, or a bug, in-game client bug. We don't know.
I think it's definitely the real name, but I don't. It's a very interesting. You've outdone yourself, Riot. It's better than Typhoon. I'll give that to you.
I mean, how much more? Like, if you eclipse something, there's like, it's just there's nothing there. So how can you like more eclipse more? Yeah. We'll have to look that one up in the break for sure. All right. This is it's almost a team fight, but not really because DAMWON's just not letting anyone engage.
Okay, so it means a conjunction or opposition, especially of the moon with the sun.
Okay, so it's just the fancier word for eclipse. Thanks for that one.
Yeah, I believe so. That Effort had to pop his Unbreakable Will.
Yes. Well, I mean, did he have to? Like,
he probably would, he probably would have died.
It would have been close. Either way, that's where we're at.
We got double dash flash Lucian.
We're almost at, I know it doesn't feel like it if you're watching at home as we see another objective taken here, the Mountain Soul.
Upgraded Locket.
Upgraded Locket, yep, click that one up. I see you typing over there.
I'm like, I gotta get in this.
But like, it feels like this is a game that might, like, if you just tune, you're like, oh, this seems like maybe a close game. Not really. It's just a hard game to finish for DAMWON, and they're up 8,000 gold, nearly, or oh, just over actually, 8,200.
Reliquary of the Golden Dawn. Whoa.
Yeah, I'll never say that out loud. I think I have heard people call it Reliquary though.
Yeah, I mean,
colloquially, you know.
That, you know, we could call it that. Or like Golden Dawn. We call Locket, or Solari at times.
Yeah, are there any relics that I'm missing? Like, we could just call it Relic.
Relic?
No, that's not good.
No, I don't think so.
No,
it's a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
I think we'll pass on that one.
Getting a hard vetoed over here by Valdez right now. I'll leave the naming to the experienced LCK commentators who have a whole dictionary for all the renamings. I'll leave that to you guys.
Yeah, we have to read the whole 5,000-page document 2 hours before the cast.
I was studying. I was studying last night and the night before. I was like, all right, I got to learn these terms. Okay, Weaver's Wall here just pretty easily circumvented.
Yeah, that's the wrong guy to try to Weaver's Wall, but eventually it runs out of purpose.
I will say one thing about this that's kind of relevant is that average game time matters a lot for tiebreakers, but I don't think anyone's going to tie DAMWON in this group.
I think you're fine. Okay, nice try there, Croco. It's not going to work. Only the knockup on the Fate. In goes the Kaisa. This is the moment. Can he do anything? Trying to get onto Ghost, and Beryl just pummels him into the ground with a nice little wrestling move. Justice punch to the face. And that is going to do it, ladies and gentlemen.
There's a teleport. They're not even...
Yeah.
There's nothing else to say.
Leave him alive. It's like, wait, I thought we had a truce. Showmaker just puts him in the ground.
Showmaker realized his KDA was more important. He was like, you know what, actually, I think I'll just take a little bit of padding.
Yeah. Well, this is a nice little DAMWON victory. 3-0 now in the group. And I have to say, though, Liiv Sandbox gave them the biggest run for their money. But again, you know, if this was just a normal LCK day, this happened, we'd say, yeah, DAMWON kind of had them the entire time. There were a couple of moments, but at the end of the day, Liiv Sandbox couldn't get far enough ahead to stop the scaling of DAMWON.
That was, I mean, that's the basic, like that's the closing thoughts part, right, of this broadcast, where we're like, yeah, well, I mean, that's what we said at the beginning, and then like it came true, and there's not a lot of complexity to it. There were some like small overextensions. Cannon got a little bit crazy in the blue side jungle there, but otherwise it was just kind of a showcasing of what this comp could do. And it's the second time this has been done to Liiv Sandbox when they're running this Renekton and secondary tank support, in this case Alistar, sort of combo with the Syndra and the Nidalee. So a little bit predictable on their part. DAMWON, really good coaching. Who's to say? Maybe Koma's got, you know, big brain in it the whole time. But the Galio last pick was pretty solid options. Good for lane, good for the team fights. Yeah. I wonder if Sandbox will draft, like, Liiv Sandbox. Keep, you know, say that's sponsored.
Yeah, you do.
We'll see if Liiv Sandbox will draft that way again or kind of move into something different, because I hope that for their last game of the group, they can show us a little bit more complexity.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that's kind of plagued Sandbox for a long time, too. They've always been this team that drafts for 1-item, 2-item power spike, and they play for the early to mid-game, and eventually teams just kind of figured that out, and every single time they just got outdrafted, and they never adapted. And it's, you know, here we are in KeSPA Cup 2020, a couple of years later, and we're like, all right, Sandbox, when is it going to change? Because this is the same thing. It's the same exact kind of draft.
Yeah,
that we've always seen.
We could have seen Graves, you know, come in there maybe if the draft went differently, but got taken away. I want to see Croco play Graves. I've seen Nidalee twice and Olaf once now. I want to see like the standard, you know, AD jungler coming through. I want to see something like a little bit more meta, a little bit less Liiv Sandbox flavored, and a little bit more 2020 preseason flavored.
And I feel like Summit's champion pool is just part of the thing, part of the problem that's been plaguing them for a long time. I mean, he played Aatrox like 47 times in summer and spring, and he played, his next most played was like Renekton at 6 games, and now it's like, okay, well, he's playing Aatrox and Renekton again.
Again, yeah.
You know? And they're really good right now. So actually now I'm like, okay, you finally have your moment to shine. Like Aatrox had his big streak where everybody was playing him and he was super safe. But, you know, it kind of does hold you into a certain kind of play style. I think there are ways to get around it. You can play more of a scaling mid laner and something that can scale a little bit better into the late game as well. But
yeah, it doesn't have to be the Syndra every time.
Yeah, Fate's so good at the Syndra, so they're like,
yeah.
oh, like, we should just pick it for him.
It does feel like on the other side of our arguments about them being predictable and kind of playing the same thing, having a weak champion pool, easy to draft against. At the other side of the coin is like they're playing against DAMWON. You want to play your comforts. You want to play your best game, what you've been good at, what you've been really prepping for KeSPA Cup, even though you've already shown it before. And now you've gotten out-drafted, but they still played it pretty well. Like, I will give them credit for doing something they're good at instead of maybe they haven't really put Kroko on some of these other champions for the jungle. They haven't been putting Fate outside of Syndra because it's been left open. That's Syndra's second loss of the tournament, by the way, 4-2 now.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, you have to give them credit for doing something that at least they thought was going to be their best chance against DAMWON. But for their last match of the group, what we'll have later on tonight, that's the big question marks, right? Because now they might not make it out, or they might put us into a tiebreaker scenario.
I think they're probably just going to draft Renekton Syndra in Italy, and they're going to beat DRX because they're a stronger team than DRX. And they're going to say, hey, it worked. We should do this more often.
That's
DAMWON's
a dangerous line
really
of thought.
Good, you know?
Dangerous line of thought, but you might be right. We have seen this over the last, I mean, you and I have been commentating in Korean esports for a long time. You guys probably don't know, but Valdez and I commentated Pro League together for a long time. There were a lot of players of the same builds for the wrong reasons a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Korean esports, sometimes you find what is good for you, and that's what you do forever, and you stay in your same place in the standings. But this is a new sandbox. It's Liiv's sandbox. Maybe they're going to live it to the fullest.
Maybe. But, you know, that same idea you were talking about, that's kind of what got Korean League of Legends in trouble for a couple of years, right? They were just too stale. Everybody figured them out. They only played safe scaling compositions, and everybody was like, well, if we play really aggressive and just dominate their weak bottom side and top lane and dive turrets, we can just get ahead of their scaling and win. And I don't know, you know, that they need to adapt a little bit eventually. Or they need to be diving more aggressively and, like, really getting in their face. But it's easier said than done.
Well, it's also really hard to play more aggressively in this situation when your opponent's draft is so good against what you're trying to do. So hard game there for Liiv Sandbox.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. We're going to take a look at some of the replays here, some of the highlights. Again, it started off with a really nice team fight from DAMWON.
Yeah, this was that kind of choke point, Horn, and Summit. It's overstaying his welcome a little bit. This is the beginning of, you know, a little bit of good news for Liiv Sandbox here. Summit having this really nice rotation in from the red side jungle and kind of surprising everyone without teleporting. And then we saw a kind of, I guess, passive moment for DAMWON in general, where they just were able to, they took fights pretty evenly, but they weren't willing to continue them or try to force fights for Drakes because they knew that was the moment where the aggression could actually turn the game to Liiv Sandbox's favor. They played very passively, which is easy to do when you have that mid turret down like I was talking about before, because you can move around a lot more freely, have a lot more threat into the blue side jungle.
Showmaker got a little bit frisky in this game.
Yeah,
I was a little bit scared whenever I was watching him early on, because part of the reason they didn't want to fight it is because it's the power spike for Liiv Sandbox. So you just avoid it for, you know, 10, 15 minutes and then you win the game. And that's exactly what eventually happens here, as there were a couple of moments for Liiv Sandbox that were a bit unfortunate, where they got caught out.
Yeah.
And, you know, they give a couple of kills over, they give the Baron away, and if you're already behind, it's just gonna kind of be the nail in the coffin.
This was a tragedy too, this fight. Where, you know, we were talking about Khan being careful and not overextending, and then he was like, wait a minute, like there's no such thing. It's an overextension in this game anymore. He's level 11, my dudes.
He's Zorn, and he just kind of goes wherever he wants. It's not even Mundo's thing anymore. Zorn, he actually did die.
Yeah, he did die, but it was worthwhile in this
After
situation.
eating about 30,000 damage from the KeSPA, it felt like.
And everyone was kind of in mid on the side of DAMWON, so they were able to get up there real quick. Yeah, this fight was a little bit unfortunate.
Yeah.
To say. This is back to that first earlier part.
You see Summit is like trading with Orange. Just run away.
Yeah.
Just don't be there. Your team is running. Just run away.
Well, there's just no. I mean, there's no way back in. Everyone got Ornhorned in the choke. There's a Weaver's Wall. Like,
there's no objective either. They already got the Rift Herald. You're late. You just gotta accept it. You know.
Damage numbers here, pretty good for Talia.
Yeah.
Just beat out Ghost
right.
by 9 damage. The better. If we were doing a Pog, we had that 9 extra damage. You know, gets in the Pog.
Yeah.
70k to 58 in the end, and what was a pretty long game. I think maybe our longest game of the tournament so far.
Yeah, went the distance. We had the orange scaling coming in, but that was that for match 6. We're getting into match 7 after a quick break. Afrika up against Nongshim Red Forest. We will be right back with match number 7.